On the pattern sheets, often it's on the guide sheet, the layout. So I'm going to show you how to use the layout. So there, on the patterns I've got here, view A, view B, and view C. So they've given you how to lay it out, how to lay out this one here. They're basically saying that number 13, which I believe is the back needs to go on the fold. So there's two ways of doing it here, or there's more than one way actually, but the way that they're suggesting is that the fabric lays out flat on this one, and you flip the pattern piece. Make sure you do. Don't cut down that line, otherwise you're going to muck it up. So the front, that's the front, the biggest scoop, the front, number 12, and the two sleeves side by side. So they're trying to be most economical with the fabric. However, on this one down below, they're suggesting that you put this on the fold and this on the fold. So you're sort of folding it into the inside and then cutting across the center and laying it out and folding it this way. So the dotted line indicates the fold. So you can see here, this little demonstration here, the little sketch that I've got here on the edge right there, that's saying it's a fold. You can see it up here. It's flat, there is no fold there. So anyway, they're two different distances. So you've got 140 centimeters wide, 114 wide. And the same goes over here. See, they're showing where the fold is, where you fold the fabric to make sure. The ribs on this one, a bit more complicated, a bit more intricate. But basically make sure you've got things on the fold. And when I was talking about the one before, is it on the fold? It doesn't say it on the pattern piece. However, it does look like it's on the fold there. I'd have to go back and have a look at that one. Alrighty. So I've cut out very loosely the pattern pieces here. I've cut out 8, 9 for the hoodie, 14, 13 and 12, and the pocket to go over the top of the front there. That's basically it. So what I'm doing here is I'm laying the front piece on number 12 onto my folded fabric. This is the front. So this is the fabric I've folded over here. Now what I've actually done is I've measured across here. I've rolled the edge of the fabric out a little bit here on the selvage, which is the edge of the fabric, and measured it and rolled it out and make sure it's not rolling underneath, and made sure it's exactly the same. And when I'm putting the pattern pieces on top, I want to make sure that that's completely on top of it. So even though I didn't cut it exactly all the way around, all the piece, I did cut the centre front on it. And I watched the pattern here, it should say on it, and it doesn't. Cut and fold. Nope, doesn't. Oh yes, it does. Centre front fold, straight grain. So it's on the fold here. And this is the piece here that tells you that where that pocket should sit. Or that pocket. And it would sit on there. Okay, so I'm just going to continue pinning this on. I always pin in from the edge. I pin like it's going in towards, I'm going to cut the biggest size out. But I pin here facing inwards so that they don't catch my fingers, and they're all about 1 centimetre in from the edge, so they don't catch my fingers. I also don't catch the scissors because I don't want to make the scissors blunt. So I'm just making sure this fabric doesn't move by pinning it right through and keeping that pin head out the way. And around. So this is the notch here. It's actually just a little line off in this little V shape that shows you that that's the front. 1 notch for the front and 2 for the back. I'll see if I can find the back. And that would be a matching up line. You would match that up with the, a minute, I'll just grab that. You'd match that up with the sleeve. Nope, that's not the piece. Oh, here we go. So this is the front. Oh, they haven't put 2 for the back. They've just put 1 for the front. There they are, matching. Yeah, they haven't put anything on the back. But normally they would put two for the back, one for the front. So there we go. So that would be when that's going on there. You would know that that's going to fit around there into that armhole. So I'll continue doing this and cut this out, and we'll come back to you.
Right.
So when I'm doing this one here, I've got to, I'm just basically folding it along to get the grain line, because the grain line is running parallel to the selvage. This is the selvage. Now my problem here is, as you might be able to see, it's actually quite tight down the selvage, and that's not going to give me a flat piece of fabric to actually work on. So I've got a couple of choices here. I could probably make little notches along it and spread it out, or you can just trim it off. I like to trim it off so that I actually run with a flat edge, but when you're cutting it off, make sure you're cutting it straight, and that should release off some of that tension that's on the fabric. See, it's a lot flatter now. I could cut a bit more off, but I'm a bit skimped on fabric here, so just making sure that what I'm cutting underneath. So now I can accurately make sure that I'm running parallel to the selvage. See, I'm not quite there, so I'll just turn that over a little bit more and play with it until you actually make sure that that fold is parallel. My memory's not good, so I tend to use my nails and just basically where it is on the tape measure, 33.3. This one here is 33.3, and this one's not quite enough, so we'll just flip that over a little bit more. So we're putting the grain line of this piece, which is the back. Right, let me see. Yep, I'm going to a little bit more again. I've taken it out too far. Okay, so I'm putting the back on here, and I'm just doing it as I said before. Pins going in at least 1 centimetre off the edge, facing inwards. You kind of need 2 or 3 up the centre back line. Some of my pins aren't that great. I'm using polar fleece, so I'm not too worried because I'm not cutting that line. Remember, it's on the fold. You've got to be careful when you're using this fabric that you make sure you've got a pair. Like for instance, for that sleeve that I've just cut out, it needs to be a pair. It's quite fluffy on one side and not as fluffy on the other side. You've got to make sure you actually, whatever side you decide you want on the outside, it is the same for the whole part of the garment. Otherwise it will look weird. Some of these pins are a little bit cheap, I think is the right word. I've raised the armhole by my choice. So I'll put another pin in. I quite like using a magnet tray, and then I can collect them all up, anything I've missed before I start cutting. Right, so cutting. I'm cutting around the outside here. I hold it flat down there. It's quite good to cut all the extra off and get it out of the way when you're cutting. I'm changing this armhole as I go, so don't panic about what I'm cutting accurately here. And like if you're right-handed, you're cutting from the right-hand side of the pattern down to the left-hand side, down to the hem here. So if you're right-handed, you cut around that way, so it's easy for yourself. If you're left-handed, you probably start here with left-handed scissors and go up. You can get more accurate that way. Now, you've got to make sure that you put your notches on. Are there any notches on this? Yeah, there's one at the waist. To do a notch, it's basically just coming in from the edge about 4 millimeters for your pattern through both sides. Make sure both sides are done so you can match it up with the other piece. The hem, I've moved the hem down a little bit. So I believe my new hem is about 2.5 centimeters. pen and draw it back in on my pattern. So I want the hem at 2.5 centimeters. So I will do another notch there so I know where to turn it up. So that's that for that one. I've already cut out the sleeve. Again, as I said, you've got to make sure it's a pair, so the fluffy side's on the outside there, but it doesn't matter. It's just make sure that that there's no, that it's the same. So I've got the notch there, no notch on that side, as I said. The hem here needs a notch, so I know how far to turn it up, and the matching one over there to make sure I know how far to turn it up. The centre grain, straighter grain, that line there I used to measure parallel to the selvage. So I've got a notch at the top, notch there, done. So I've got a back, I've got a sleeve, I've got the front still to cut out, and the pockets and the hoodie. But I'll cut the pocket, I'll cut out the front of the one up. So there's the hoodie, the pocket, and that will sit on the front like that. I'm not sure if I like that pocket. I'll work it out whether I'm going to continue with that pocket. I might change it in a minute. The hoodie, it's got a two-piece in this pattern. I'm not sure I would have bothered putting it in as a two-piece, but this piece here it's really important that you cut it on the fold. It says here cut on the fold. It says ×2, but it's really saying make sure it's on the fold. It doesn't have any notches on it, which I'm surprised about. As a pattern maker, I would have put a notch in there so I knew which piece where it married up to. I can only assume because, oh, there we go, that one, number 10, matches up with number 10. So what I would do with that is put a centre back nick in it so that I know that that's the neckline. So that one there, number 10, maybe I'd put a 1.5 centimetre, I'd put a notch in there too. Because really that's just saying that that's going to marry up with that one here. And I'll put 1.5. I might just do it on there because I'm actually sharing this pattern with someone else. This one here at the centre front, at number 11, I'd put a notch in there too. So you know where to fold it or where it's going to match up with it. So it's got a casing on it. So they're saying sleeve included, right, so... sorry, seam allowance included. Oh, 4 of them. Oh, so the hoodie must be... lined. I'll think about that one. We'll work out something to put in there. Alrighty, so I'm just going to finish off the front and then we'll get back to you. On the front here, it requires a placement of where to put the pocket. Now I can see where that is here, so I can put a chalk line on there. But I need to transfer it over here. Now the quickest way to do that is to poke my pin right through both layers. Take all the pins out from the side, and assuming that you've kept all the pins in everywhere else, and I can either go, and I open it up like this, and I like to do a cross because then I get to know exactly where it is. That pin should go right through the outside as well. Now that's assuming that I'm using that as the right side. If it was to go, I've got the right side on the inside, because that's where I really need to know where it is going. I would do exactly the same, right on top of there, and do a cross so that I can see the intersection of where it is. I might have to pull that out a bit more. To sharpen your chalk, if you have chalk that's getting a bit stale like this one here, you get your oldest pair of scissors, and I'll get mine. And you do this over the rubbish bin. So you get your rubbish bin. You don't make a mess of everything. And you get the outside, and you'd scrape the outside just to freshen it up. But you don't do it with your good shears. Okay? And then that will draw better on the fabric. Where at the moment it's more like that, you can't even see it because I've sharpened it. Okay? All good. So I've got the centre back of the, I'm just going to put a notch in these, the centre back and the centre front. That makes it easier for lining up the hoodie. So even though it doesn't say it on there to do a notch, definitely put one in there. It's going to make your life so much easier. And then just double check that you've got your hem notches on your body as well. I've got them on one. I obviously have missed the other one, so I'll just line them both up. Main thing is that they're both exactly the same. Just turn those around here. And make sure it goes through both layers. And don't do them any longer than like about 5 millimeters, and 4 would be better. But because of the nature of this fabric, again, I just need to make sure that my side seams, because I've altered my side seams a little bit, I want to make sure that they're the same. So I need to make sure that this garment is going to fit together when I'm finished with it, or when I'm ready to sew it. The sleeve's going to fit in and things like that. So what I'm probably better to do now is just to pull all the pins out, throw them back in my pin tray. And take the pattern, put that one away. And because I've altered this length, I know that side seam's not going to match up, so I'll just do a little bit of a trim now. On top of each other. See, at the moment the front's longer than back, I'm not quite sure why. But I will alter it because I don't want to be stretching the fabrics and the side seam to make it work, so I'm just going to go and trim this a little bit extra off. Before I do that, I'll just double check. Alright, cool. And make it a nice curve. And then if you're doing that, you need to make sure that it fits. The shoulders still fit together. Sewing at 1.5 centimeters in, so I'd line those up. Just a little quick check. Done. Ready to sew, I think. I might actually this needs on the hoodie, I've just realised the reason it actually needs a lining as well. Now I don't want double the thickness on this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it with something that's kind of a little bit unique. It's a fabric I printed myself, and I've got a cloth, like a woven mat, an island mat basically, and I've rolled over the top of it. And that's with fabric paint, and that's where I've come up with it. So what I've decided to do, because I don't want double the thickness on the hoodie, I've decided I've got this cotton fabric that I've printed, and I'm going to just put it in there. That's all I had, to be fair, that's why it's not matching properly, but for the sake of the sample, you know, it's not going to be that big a deal. I probably should have ironed it first, so I suggest you press it first. I was just trying to rush this through. Okay, so basically I've got a pair here and the centre back panel, and that's how it's going to fit together along the back like that. And then that piece here where it's got no printing will be at the centre back neckline, so you won't see it anyway, or very limited bit of it. All good. Next time we're sewing.